what is up, everyone? My name is Ashura, and I have got my good friend here, Buggy the Wuggy. He has just started his YouTube channel, and he is the buggy guy at my locals here. And he is absolutely crazy about him, and he's got a pretty solid deck list, I might say. Not to mention, he has it max rarity, and he's got the 4 manga buggies in it. Don't you worry. Anything you'd like to add, my friend?
Not really. Just thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. It's always good to have new people on here, and this is the Reverie Part 3, guys. I did forget to mention that, but no time like the present. And I've got your deck list already pulled up for my people here. Anything in particular that you want to shout out about it? I know you said you were working on a few different builds too.
Yeah, just my current build. The thing that's most different about it, some people in the buggy community, which is a very weird thing to say, saying it out loud, are starting to move away from using pudding. And I'm also kind of the only person on Red Rock still. But I think they're both super necessary in the current meta with how much card draw there is, like with Shanks and Enel getting such big hands.
Absolutely. I mean, like, I'm a big NL player. We've definitely played before, and I like to say that I keep a counter up saying how much card disadvantage I'm at. So I know we've gotten pretty high up there. You think you putting me for 10 the other day?
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a pretty fat pudding.
Yeah, but yeah, I know my heart still hurts about that. So gotta let that one go though.
Blue players thrive on the tears of NL players.
Honestly, I'm okay with that. You Blue tears me up a lot, honestly, with that Nami matchup. But getting back to Buggy, so I'm seeing that you're running like Bon Clay, you're running Das Bones. Tell me about the Mohi and Kabaji combo. I know you were talking about that the other day.
So Moji and Kabaji basically are in there as searchable 2Ks. Uh, Moji, when he comes into play, he searches the top 5 for Richie, which is just a 2-cost blocker, and then puts it into play if you have one in your hand.
Okay.
And Kabaji just can't be KO'd by battle uh, if you have a Buggy or Moji character in play. Both of those effects are kind of mid, so most of the time you're just going to be holding them in hand as 2Ks.
Ah, okay, I gotcha.
And then the Mr. 2 Bond Clay is also just in there as a searchable 2K. I don't think I've ever played that card, except maybe against Nami, the bottom deck of Kaya.
Honestly, though, big respect as an NL player. I like that. Bottom deck the Kai and have their tears be shed there.
Um, this deck just really thrives on being able to filter through your entire hands. Like you got the 4 Pilafs, you got the 4 Mihawks, you got the Mr. 1 that draws you and discards 1, and then you have the 3 stages. Just being able to filter and sculpt your hand is just so important with this deck.
Okay, so would you say it's this deck is definitely dependent on like matchup knowledge, definitely
Yes.
not an easy deck to pilot, so to speak, if you don't know your matchups.
Absolutely. It's a very late game centric deck. Obviously, when you get to 10 Dawn, the leader ability isn't once a turn, so you can just drop 2 10 costs into play potentially. Um, Bottom deck 2 things, and then you just have 2 12Ks to swing with on your next turn.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful, honestly. I know that buggy isn't that once per turn activate main sort of deal, so pretty disgusting that you can kind of just cheat out 20 worth of Dawn for 10.
Yeah. I always have to tell people when they first sit down across from me, I always tell them 2 important things to note. Buggy's ability is not cost restricted, and it is not once a turn. And that always catches people off guard if I don't tell them that.
No, absolutely. I could see why. I mean, most leaders have that once per turn aspect when anything is involved, honestly, just to keep them in check so that way they're not broken and getting like too much value. I mean, can you imagine if Bonnie was every time you attacked? Yo, my thoughts exactly. My thoughts exactly.
Oh man, I don't even want to think about that. That's disgusting.
So what are your best matchups here?
Okay, so my best matchups, in my opinion, obviously Blackbeard. If he shuts off your on plays, you just stick a 12K on turn 3.
That is,
Um,
yeah, that's definitely. heard of that one in the rumor mill, and that's disgusting.
Yeah. Bonnie is also a very good matchup.
Really?
Uh, yeah, our removal suite is just way too strong for them to be able to consistently deal with. Like, they drop a kid, and we can either just red rocket or just drop a buggy and get it out of the way.
Okay, that's pretty fair. Yeah, I can see that. Just like take care of whatever's on their board because Bonnie heavily relies on building a board and having that
Right.
click.
Just green matchups in general, like Yuta is another really good matchup for us. Because we can just clear blockers with Gravity Blade, Red Rock, Buggy. In those matchups, we aren't typically trying to get Buggy to stick. It's usually just 5 cost removal.
Okay, that's pretty fair. That's pretty fair. Just kind of like
Uh,
clear that lower end that Uta runs and just fill
right.
your own board while you're doing it.
Nami is another very strong matchup for this deck because our bodies are just so huge that we only have to throw 2 Dawn on them to swing for the 9k that we need.
Yeah, I was looking at that and just like looking at the cost spread here, we've got quite a bit in the 5 cost. We got like 18 cards, 7 cards with 6 costs, 6 cards with 7 costs. Of course, the 4 10 cost buggies, but most of your deck is just 5 costs and up.
Right. We have to very heavily overload on 5 costs because that's what gets the buggy to stick when we get to the later turns. And the crocodile, the 7 cost crocodile, when he comes in, he can drop a 5 cost cross guild or a character with the type Baroque works into play. Uh, 5 cost or less. So we could technically drop a Mr. 3 into play, but that's not exactly ideal. We want to be flooding the board with as much 5 cost or higher bodies as we can to try and get that buggy to just stick.
That makes total sense. I mean, Croc is just so big in that he's like basically a bigger Jimbei, and that's
Right.
huge for you guys. Just being able to fill that board because if the opponent isn't running much removal and you're able to kind of just chill there because you are a 5 life leader, then those buggies being able to bottom deck and stick are gonna be huge.
Right. And we all obviously have to throw out the elephant in the room. Promo buggy. I don't know when or if we're going to get it. I hope it's soon. But that card alone just flips this deck on its head. Not only does it slow down the aggro decks like Dofi, Bella Betty, Zuro, they just can't attack through it. It also drops your 6 cost Mihawk into play on turn 3.
Yeah, no, that's super gross. Like I really hope that we get that promo soon because it is a shame when a deck is held back because we don't have particular promos yet. And I know you're also missing, I believe, 1 or 2 other promos that will come out around the same time as Promo Buggy, but are they a little less important or are they about the same relevance?
There's a 4 cost Mihawk that is usually ran as a 3 or 4 of in Japan right now. He's just a 4 cost 5k, activate main, return him to your hand, replace him with a 5 cost cross guild. So it's a reasonably strong effect. He can attack and then replace himself. He can also get put into play off of Crocodile. He doesn't count towards Buggy's effect, but he does allow you on a 9 Dawn turn to still make 10 Dawn worth of play.
Okay, that's pretty fair. Like being able to even cheat out 1 extra Dawn over time or just, every other turn or whenever you play it is pretty clutch. I mean, we all know there's a lot of leaders that will just redistribute rested Dawn or give particular boosts like that. So we know that's
Right.
Dawn efficiency is just the most important thing, honestly, in this game besides board presence.
Yeah, and then there's a Crocodile promo as well that I don't even remember what it does because it just barely gets played. I think it bottom decks a character with a cost of 2k or a power of 2k or less, and it's a 5 cost 7k, I believe, with no counter on it. It's not a great effect, but it's another cross guild, basically.
Okay, so if there's ever a time for bottom decking stuff that is low power, maybe we'll see that card come into play.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too
Maybe
bad
if
then.
Nami ever comes back to super relevance again.
Right, or maybe even when EVO2 comes out and Nell's like huge, if Nell's running the Shirahoshi, just bottom decking
Right.
that can be pretty good to get around blocker. That's pretty cool. So then Tell me, what are those were your strong matchups? What are your weaker matchups here? What really is a thorn in your side?
Purple Luffy, Doflamingo, Shanks, to name the three biggest ones. I have not won against Shanks a single time since O9 dropped.
Oof, that's rough.
Like, you can just, without promo buggy to be able to drop a blocker into play, it's just so hard to build a board without also being able to swing.
No, that's fair because Shanks very much will delete a lot of like this deck and has a lot of tools to basically stack big guys that are bigger than yours where he doesn't have to equip Dawn, but you have to like equip Dawn to even swing even.
Right. You can just build your perfect board, and then he drops a Rayleigh into play with a Shanks on the board, and he's just like, now watch this drive, and just clears your whole board.
Yeah, shit, I've definitely been on that receiving end. I was testing Robin a lot, and they just kind of clear board faster than what honestly a lot of decks can do. They're
Yeah.
almost like a red version of a Nell mixed in with a bit of black Lucci because they're just deleting your board as they build their bigger guys. I mean, it's pretty sound
Yeah.
strategy though.
It's just disgusting. Like, you basically have to just outmaneuver them to win that matchup.
Okay, good to know. And what was you said purple Luffy. I wouldn't expect purple Luffy just because you have a lot of like 7Ks here and
Right.
Luffy takes his own life. Is it because you
Purple
can't remove Luffy
Luffy,
Toro efficiently or
right. Like, the only way we can efficiently get rid of Luffy Taro is by throwing out a buggy to remove it, Red Rock, maybe attacking into it, but they often are going to be able to clear your board pretty well from attacking with the new Sanji. That rests one of your guys, and then they can just swing into it. Um, to beat that matchup, you basically have to see your perfect curve and hit every piece of removal, and they have to break pretty hard.
okay, okay. You know, it's interesting how often it comes down to can you efficiently remove Luffy Toro, and if not, do you can you win quickly enough with like after they start dropping that?
Right. Like, in that matchup, 10 cost buggy just becomes removal. You don't have any hope of trying to stick it. You just have to use it to get rid of bodies.
I mean, that's fair. In certain matchups, you kind of just got to do whatever you can to survive, even if you know from the start it might be not a wash per se, but a pretty tough hill to climb.
Right. And then Dofi is probably this deck's hardest matchup because their bodies that they're flooding the board with come at a smaller cost. They don't have to discard a card from hand for one. Um, and they get way better value from the bodies they're dropping on the board.
I mean, that's pretty fair. I mean, Doffy is a very efficient deck and has been since the starter dropped. I mean, even a little bit before that, they were pretty efficient, but now they're honestly S tier deck for a while here. So
Right.
that's pretty reasonable that you can have a that you have a tough matchup into that.
Yeah. The easiest way for you to beat Dofi is to just hope that you have Crocodile into the 7k Dawes Bones on your turn 3. And then when you hit 7 Dawn, excuse me, use Gravity Blade to clear as much of their board as you can. And then you counter out really aggressively because they're going to be holding pudding the whole time.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, no, that's super fair. I learned the hard way the other day at locals that they are now running more than just two puddings, which is quite dangerous for me.
Disgusting. I can't really talk though, even though I'm still only on 2.
I
Just recurring it with Jozu is really funny.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I know you saw that firsthand at our locals. Happened to me twice, so 100% that hurts the soul.
Yeah.
So any like so I know you got different iterations here. Any spicy tech cards that you're running in those different iterations that you're kind of experimenting with or think have potential if our meta shifts?
The spiciest thing that I've seen so far is using a Playgrounds plus Ice Oni package.
Really?
Yeah, so you use the Playgrounds, which is a 2 cost event, Says you can trash an ice Oni from your hand and bottom deck a 4 or less anywhere on the board to play an ice Oni from your trash. And ice Oni is a 8 cost 0k. It says during your turn, if this character battles an opponent's character with a cost of 5 or less, it bottom decks that character.
Interesting. So if we get like a super heavy like zoo meta where Zero's on the rampage, we're only seeing Vegapunk somehow with 5 costs, and only Dofi, perhaps. That card might actually be useful.
Right. The important thing to note is that it's a 8 cost that counts towards Buggy that you can bring up for 2.
Oh. You know what? That is super clutch, actually.
It's really silly, and some people are like just experimenting with it a little bit right now. I'm not sold on it, to be honest, but I thought it was funny enough to bring up for this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And no, I
Uh,
definitely can see that. Like, the right meta, that's gonna shine and be quite hilarious.
yeah, it would need a very specific meta to be good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I don't know if we'll ever get there again. I think the meta from like 1 to 04 was so special because that's
Right.
like kind of how it was, like a lot of 5 costs and stuff. But
Yeah.
we'll see,
It's
we'll see.
also important to note that you cannot bring back the Isoni that you trash off of the cost. You have to already have one in your trash.
Oh, okay. So
Which, you know, a lot this deck already has a lot of draw discard from hand, like through Dosbones and Mihawk. So that's not really that big of an issue, but that's why I'm kind of skeptical on it.
no, that's fair. I mean, that also makes it interesting because like you'll have to run 4, but you could only ever like what get it off 3 times because you have to have one in trash at first, so you could only ever like
Right.
play 3. Very interesting.
Well,
Reminds
it's
me.
you may trash an Isoni from your hand.
Oh, I see, I see, I
So
see.
if you don't have one in your hand, you can still bottom deck something, I believe.
Okay.
I haven't looked into this build enough to know enough about this particular card. I always just pass it by when I'm looking through the bulk boxes, but you know, maybe there's something there.
What a mood, what a mood. I like the off meta stuff. I know we're both in the off meta Discord, so big fans of
Right.
that.
And then we have an Impel Down build for Buggy that
Ooh.
utilizes the Impel Down engine of Buggy Searcher, a 5 cost 7k Vanilla Crocodile, Inazuma, and 7 cost Ivankov to just be able to filter through your hand a little bit better because this deck goes really low on cards in hand sometimes.
No, that's fair. I mean, we were playing a game the other day and you were at 2 cards, so with stage out, I was kind of like, okay, I could get a whole new hand if I want to.
Right. Um, and the biggest issue with this particular build is when it high rolls, it's amazing. Like you're just flooding the board, you're just throwing dudes out. Your opponent has to deal with it or just lose.
Oh, I love that.
But
That's
when it
amazing.
low rolls, it's just bricks.
Oof.
Like
Okay.
it does not add any extra 2Ks to your build. It it adds a couple 1Ks that basically do nothing if you have more than 2 cards in your hand.
Oh, okay. So like a lot of dead cards that like, yeah, you got counter, but like at what cost? Because you're not really playing the game, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, like this current build that I have pulled up that you sent me has a good amount of counter I'm looking at. It has 19 1Ks, 11 2Ks, which is a pretty standard over here, I feel. And then 20 bricks, which I mean is not the most and not the least I've seen.
Right.
So
And
definitely a
6
good
of those
spread
bricks
there.
are also counters, so you have to think about that when you're putting this deck together as well.
That's fair, that's fair.
Did I say counters? I don't know. It's been a long day.
No, I hear you. Long day, always when we're doing these reveries. Always do it at nighttime. Maybe I'll switch it up with someone and do it in the morning.
Do it 3 in the morning.
Ooh, perfect. Right when I get up for work. Oh man. So was there anything we missed here? We covered matchups. Decklist, brother. Uh, your Max Rarity deck, which again is absolutely crazy.
I did want to bring up that there are a couple matchups that are not necessarily good or bad, but they're tricky to navigate.
Ooh, okay, so yeah, tell me more about that, because now you got me interested.
So we have some matchups. We have red purple Luffy. We have purple black Luffy. We have '07 Rob Lucci. Just all the rhyming names, I guess.
Oh, absolutely.
We have Nico Robin and we have Enel. I would consider those matchups kind of middle of the road, but if you don't know what you're doing in them, you're just going to lose right away.
Okay, so they're wonky.
Yeah. Uh, Red Purple Luffy, mainly because of being a 6k leader. I guess you could also throw Whitebeard in with that. That can also be a weird matchup to navigate.
Okay, just because like that extra dot, I'm assuming that you have to like kind of start equipping
Right,
somewhere or be down.
right. Purple Black Luffy really just depends on how quickly they get their engine going versus how quickly you get your board filled.
That's fair.
If
Purple
you can
Black Luffy
start
can brick pretty easily.
right, and we can too, honestly, but we have to really just dig for having Crocodile on turn 3 in most of these matchups.
Gotcha. Okay. Side note: would
Uh,
you consider Buggy a more glass cannon sorted deck, or does it kind of still do its small thing, but then like it'll explode sometimes?
I consider Buggy to be a control deck that turns the corner kind of out of nowhere.
Okay, so
It,
like got some explosion at the end a little bit, like a little
right.
surprise factor.
It takes it a little bit to get there, but once it can turn the corner, it just kind of vomits 6 guys onto the board on the 10 Dawn turn.
Okay, I like that. I like that. So back to wonky matchups.
Lucci is a matchup where you have to, kind of in the same vein as Dofi into Lucci, you just have to dig for your version of Jinbei. You just gotta have the Croc and just kind of outpace their removal.
I mean, I can definitely see that for you guys because you guys, if they, as long as they don't have, like a big reducer on the field like Kuzan or Nico Robin, I can see it being hard to remove your board entirely just because you run a lot of those 5K or 5 cost and ups, like
Right.
Karaksa being the 7 cost.
Yeah. Uh, Red Rock is an all-star in that matchup because if they drop Jack on the field, you need to be able to get it off the board.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need to get that guy off the field.
He's a terror. I see him in my nightmares. I swear.
Everywhere I go, I see his face.
God, I see him rested everywhere I go.
He's so sleepy.
Oh gosh. That look, it's so menacing. He's just standing there menacingly.
And then Anel and Robin are just kind of those, you know, aggro control is what I tend to call them. It doesn't really make sense, but they're yellow. They have a lot of just really strong removal. You have to try and outpace that, and a lot of the time you just can't.
Definitely. I mean, NL nowadays is running every removal it's got, or all the removal it's got, from
Yeah,
Gadatsu, Nami, and Luffy. I mean, now it's running Kuzan too, which is just absolutely toxic, but I kind of love it. It's kind of gas.
right. You bring up an interesting point there with the Rocket Luffy. That card is useless in this matchup.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Besides the Marguerite and the Searcher, there's literally nothing it'll kill.
Yeah, it'll pop a pudding, but at
Yeah.
that point you're wasting a 5k to kill a 4k.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which, in my opinion, makes it so that Black Yellow Luffy is actually a very strong matchup for us.
Wow. Okay. So, like, that wow. So if Black Yellow Luffy really starts dominating the meta, we could see like a Rise and Buggy just to counter that one soul deck.
Right. Primarily because we just have, like, such easy access to Gravity Blade. That card is a house in that matchup.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if they start doing their shenanigans where they pump up their leader, we only have to put, like, 2 Dawn onto any of our big bodies to match it.
God, I love that.
We
That's
just make them
amazing.
have it.
Okay,
And
okay.
our removal doesn't KO, so Sabo does nothing to us. We just don't care about it.
Man, dude, you might make me a buggy converter because I know Enel is supposed to be pretty, at least mid, I believe, into black yellow buggy or black yellow buggy. That'd be amazing. Black yellow
Oh,
Luffy.
imagine.
Oh gosh, that no, we don't give the buggy fans that yet. Not yet. They're not ready.
Give it to me.
I'm still waiting on my Brook leader. I need that first before we get a second buggy leader.
All right, we'll have them both in the same set.
I would. That would be perfect. I'd love that so much.
EBO3.
Absolutely perfect. I don't want to wait that long, but if it's gonna happen, perfect. As long as it happens. But oh my gosh, yeah, no, disgusting. Yeah, I know Nell's supposed to be mid into that, but I always feel like I'm extra worried. So Buggy
Right.
is that's dope. It's pretty good into Black Yellow Luffy.
Yeah. I've only ever played against the same person playing Black Yellow Luffy, so maybe take my words with a grain of salt on that, but I think it's a very strong matchup.
Well, I mean, all the Black Yellow Luffys in our area here are pretty strong in their own right, and so are you. So I I like to think our local meta here is pretty competitive. So
Yeah.
I take it with a grain of salt, but I also look at the data.
Right.
That's pretty cool. I like that, Buggy is I'm gonna say viable, honestly, because like it's a rogue, like I feel like it's a very much a rogue leader,
Yeah, for sure.
like you've got your good matchups, you've got your bad matchups like any deck, you got your wonky matchups, which is pretty cool. But I love it, and honestly, just like Vegapunk, we're kind of relating to that. Very much like these rogue leaders have that surprise factor where a lot of people don't know what they're kind of getting into when they sit across from you.
Right.
I mean, the
And like I
fact, like,
said, if we ever get promo buggy, it just really flips this whole deck on its head. Just makes it so all those aggro matchups that we had trouble with before, like Bello Betty, Dofi, um, Zuro, just all those become so much easier.
hell yeah, I'm ready for you guys to like honestly become full power. Always
Right.
excited to have a deck get that extra card that really just puts it over the edge because I know a lot of decks are like that where they're just waiting for that extra one or two cards to get them in the limelight. So I want you guys to have more of that spotlight on you.
Oh, I misspoke before, by the way. I said the promo buggy was a 7 cost 7k. It's actually a 7 cost 8k.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, no, even better. I like that. And Promo Buggy has probably got the best art we've seen in a while here, so we're gonna need it soon, right, brother?
Yeah, he's getting his free con, and I need some of that in my life.
God bless. And so guys, that was Buggy D Buggy. I thank you for showing up, brother. I appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I want to give some shout outs to all the guys in the buggy chat in the One Piece community Discord server. I want to shout out Vantis, Bisoru, Minoru, Kokobunji, all those guys. They helped me out with getting some of these matchups together, figuring out what to talk about. Just shout outs to those guys.
Heck yeah. Gotta spread the love. And I'm going to link his channel below in the details below. So you guys make sure you check out his channel, check out everything he's posting. Great guy. Love playing him every time. A great player. And
That's a stretch.
I think you're a good player. I think you're a good player. And they can take my word for
All right, I appreciate it.
it.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of content on my YouTube channel yet, but I got a new setup for my camera. I'm gonna start recording some more soon.
Heck yeah. And I'm sure we'll get some more content done together soon. But in the meantime, guys, sub to him, hit that like and sub below for me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.